Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we're doing a special edition of the Spotlight on the Community show here at the San Diego County Sheriff's headquarters. We're brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Thrilled to have on the show today Ashish Kakkad. He is the technology manager for technology services for Sheriff's Office. How you doing there, Yosh?
Doing great. How about you guys?
I'm doing perfect, thank you. How long have you been with the Sheriff's Department?
22 years. Hit my 22 years just last month.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's September 20th.
22 more to go?
That's a long time. That makes it 44. I'm not sure if I'll be around that long.
I think you'll be around that long over there. All in the same division and department?
Yep. I started with the data services, and now I'm responsible for that circus.
Well, that I'm sure there's a lot of work to go with. Was that what you were interested in when you were doing your schooling, when you were in college or in high school?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I started, after I left the service, I wanted...
Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you.
For your service, appreciate it.
I knew I wanted to get into technology-related field. I just ended up being fortunate to end up in a field and get paid for doing something that I would be doing for free anyways, but don't tell the sheriff or the county any of that.
I will not.
I still appreciate the paycheck.
No, I think that's very, very important. So you provide strategic IT vision, right? What does that mean?
Basically, what that means is my job is to ensure that all the technology needs for the organization, anywhere from patrol cars all the way to jails, are not only met operationally, but also look out in the future and make sure that as we do technology investment and look at the roadmap, it aligns with our operational needs, balance that against all the legislative mandates and everything else that we have to deal with, right? So my job is to, on one hand, ensure that everything is up and running 24/7, and on the other hand, understand what the future needs are, work with the stakeholders, work with the rest of the department, and align sort of our investment in technology to that.
So 22 years ago, technology looked a little bit different than it is now?
Slightly.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously it's incumbent upon you and then your team, you're going to have to be on top of this thing 24/7, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And how much of that involves with cybersecurity?
A whole lot. Two of the biggest, besides looking at the state of affairs with technology and planning, cybersecurity is 100% top of mind, right? Every cybersecurity is involved in every aspect of what we do.
Well, we brought this up. I think we're talking to Commander Rick Lopez about it, and maybe even Chris Vance of the Crime Lab, that certainly the bad guys, so to speak, are always trying to stay two steps ahead of you, the good guys, and then you're always going to have to pivot and all that and that business. Do you work with other organizations that are focused on cyber in this town to help keep you guys up to date?
Yeah, we have actually, regionally, we have really good partnership with essentially all the other public safety agencies and other organizations. So we work with very, very closely with our counterparts at the county and counterparts at all the other agencies to just help each other out, make sure that we share information, make sure that we, if we need to, we can respond and share best practices.
Now, how much does artificial intelligence play into what you folks are doing?
I think artificial, as everyone's seen, AI, basically, I cannot, if I go in an hour in my day where someone doesn't bring up AI, then I have to do a temperature check, make sure everything's okay, right? Having said that, AI is pervasive right now. Everywhere we look at, it's the biggest conversation technology industry is having, right? And as a result, it is a huge part for us right now looking out. What does AI bring to the table for us? And how do we think about it, not from a product, but a strategy perspective, right? Because everyone's selling a lot of gadgets, but we need to look at it from a strategy perspective, and we need to look at it really from all the other sort of privacy and capability that it can bring to the organization perspective.
We do a lot of work with the schools on our Spotlight and Community show and Cloudcast Media. And we put summits on that talk about careers and all that business. And, of course, we had one of the experts speak on AI. And his focus was work with it. Don't look at it as an enemy. Work with it. Obviously things you got to be careful about and keep an eye on it. It sounds like that you're taking the same approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have young kids at home, and what I've kind of tried to emphasize is that it's just like any other sort of significant change that society goes through, right? We have to look at it clear-sighted. We have to understand what it brings to the table, how we can leverage it in a sensible fashion. Simultaneously, you also have to educate folks on really being cognizant of what it can bring to the table, right? Don't just blindly follow or don't blindly use it, but at the same time, don't be afraid of it. Learn about it, lean into it, and use it.
Right. We were talking to Commander Lopez about this as well. Communications Center falls under him in that aspect of it, and talked about, certainly that it's so critical that the systems are all up and working, and obviously that's what you do quite a bit on this. How much are the folks that are trying to do nefarious work trying to shut down your systems by, doing, cyber attacks or whatever the case may be? Is it like us? We don't even know when we get a cyber attack. We've probably been attacked 400 times by the time we just had this conversation.
Yeah, we see this in oftentimes we see it either spike in targeted attacks, which happens on occasion, but oftentimes the attacks usually come as just a mass sort of, mass attack that the folks try to find vulnerability and exploit. But increasingly, we're starting to see targeted attacks on law enforcement, on public safety, on local government, with explicit idea of either really taking over or bringing the infrastructure down,
right,
or really creating some nefarious challenges for the organization. So it's a constant effort. At the same time, we have seen a significant increase in that targeted attack for public safety and law enforcement.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
Right, we're chatting with Ashish Kakkad. He is the technology manager for the technology services for the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and we are broadcasting a special edition of Spotlight on the Community show here at the headquarters of the Sheriff's Department. Our Spotlight show is the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things in San Diego County. When you talk about what you folks do, is the technology that you're in charge of and oversee and make sure it's running is from everything from the Scott cars to Astrea to satellites to, I don't even know half the stuff I'm talking about, to certainly the computers that you folks work in the command centers and everything in between?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So,
how do you keep track of all this?
It's hard. That's
Right.
why I don't have any hair, right? I know folks can't see this on the podcast, but It's always fun. I'm not going to say it's not challenging, but it's challenging in an exciting way. It moves fast. I have a phenomenal team, probably the best team that any IT manager could ever dream of. The team makes my job absolutely fun and easy. So having a right team makes that much more exciting.
Right. Now, what are some of the common things that you're getting involved in to solve a solution? Is it something to do with the squad cars? Is it something to do with the computers internally? Is it anything else, or they're all sort of jumbled together?
So I think right now we're looking at really a huge transformation of all of our sort of what we call legacy systems into modernizing all of that effort, right?
Right.
We're pivoting heavily to cloud infrastructure. We're pivoting heavily to implementing, latest in cybersecurity capabilities, as well as starting to explore how AI fits into all of it, right? So there's a big shift in essentially every aspect of the technology that the department has. And it's looking at it with the idea that, and Sheriff always says this, right? We need to start looking at it from the perspective of work smarter, not harder.
Right.
So all these decisions that we're making on the technology side are aligned to that concept.
Right. And how much does that tie into, what folks like Chris Vance work in the crime lab? Do you work at the crime lab quite a bit?
Yeah, and Crime Lab is really a very interesting space because they do things that are really, really sensitive in nature. So for us, working with the lab is really exciting because some of the technologies they use is unique in its nature. We need to make sure that all of their infrastructure is protected, and we also need to ensure that everything that they do is handled with a level of caution and carefulness that really it deserves. So we work very closely with the lab in providing all the systems that they need and ensuring that it works.
Well, we know how critical it is working with Chris and his team, all the teams actually, Ian and Astria, I should say, and of course Rick Lopez in what he does in that aspect, especially with the crime lab. We know that is going to be used in courts, to say the least, right? And if anything is compromised or, you should be sanitized and it wasn't, that gets thrown out, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the folks at Crime Lab are best suited to answer a lot of that. But our job is to make sure that from the technology perspective, everything that we provide mitigates that risk.
Right. So, if we brought this up to your colleagues in the interview, we'll ask you too. One thing we're so impressed with the Sheriff's Department, there's so many different types of careers.
Yes.
If you don't want to be, on the ground or, in a sheriff's, squad car, so to speak, you can do technology, you can do communications, you can do crime lab and all that aspect. Talk about the different types of jobs that you do under your area.
So for us, under the technology services, we have a span of jobs anywhere from individuals that support the radio towers, so climbing on the radio towers that are spread out all across San Diego and Imperial County, all the way to working on AI projects to use the latest and greatest in generative AI capabilities, working with anywhere from latest mobile devices all the way to advances in cybersecurity. So these jobs span a whole spectrum of capabilities, right? You can be a software developer, all the way to working on radio towers. Yeah,
what's interesting with it, and again, as we talked to Rick about as well, you're one of the largest sheriff's departments in the country, just because not only the numbers of people you employ, but the wide swath of acreage mileage that you folks have. So you really have to be on top of that aspect of it. Talk about your student internship program, which you just love, and you work with UCSD Data Science.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, and I'll go down a little interesting story about how that came about.
Please.
Right. So bear with me. A random Wednesday, kids had day off. My kids, I have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I have an older one too. He's out of the house. He's 27. So 14 and 10, we were a couple years ago, they were a little younger. They love ramen. So one afternoon they were off. I took the day off. I'm like, kids, what do you guys want to do? They're like, we want to go to this ramen restaurant. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we go to this restaurant. It's typical, the mall, empty Wednesday afternoon. And then I see sort of folks in the crowd that didn't look like they belonged in a mall on a Wednesday afternoon with backpacks and looked like, they they weren't shopping. I didn't see any bags. And then I was sitting down next to a group of people, and I started picking up they were talking about math and research and data and things like that. And I perked up, and I'm like, wait a second. These guys are really kind of talking about something that is of interest to me. So I think I embarrassed the heck out of my kids because, I told my kids, I'm like, watch this, right? So I struck up the conversation, just kind of figured out what they were talking about, and I started talking to them. Turns out they were there was apparently some sort of a math convention at the Four Seasons right there, right? So we started talking about different things, and one thing led to another. Turns out one of the folks that was at the table was a professor at UCSD Data Science Institute, and he was on their one of the boards, right? So one thing led to another. We exchanged information. I explained to them who I was because a random person who was sitting at the kids eating ramen starts talking about some of the data and science and math and stuff to you guys, to them. They were like, okay, so who are you and what do you do? So that particular instance led to conversation, which essentially built a phenomenal partnership with UCSD Data Science Institute, where we have a pipeline between us and UCSD Data Science, where we have interns coming and working for us. And this is how we're able to understand and build our capabilities for what AI means, what machine learning means, generative AI, and all these things. It allowed us to really sort of go from the idea that we wanted to do something in that area to now having capacity and knowledge to be actually start working on it, right?
Well, the person you're sitting next to is associate producer of my show, Brandon Joe, who's a UCSD student and who's a junior. And probably knows everything you're talking about. Here, where I'm a Luddite, still trying to figure out what the abacus does in that business. We're chatting with Ashish Kakkad. He is the technology manager for technology services for the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. So how many of the folks actually and the interns work with you right now?
So right now we have, I want to say about 12 to 14 students that are from UCSD. We have another group of students from San Diego State, Grossmont, whole lot of local colleges that we have that we partner with. But the biggest batch right now we have is from UCSD, and we just hired our first student that graduated from that program. So she just started with us in September.
And they're undergrads, or they're all?
Right now, they're undergrads. We did have someone from the master's program as well.
Okay.
So, we're primarily targeting undergrads, mainly, freshmen and sophomore.
Okay.
Because by that time, by the time at that program like UCSD Data Science,
right,
students that are juniors and seniors are getting picked up by the industry, right? Freshmen and sophomores are still kind of coming up to speed. So they allow us to kind of tap into the market and bring them in and embed them with our teams.
Right.
And it makes it a lot more exciting for us.
How long have you been using those interns? How many years?
So particular UCSD interns, we've had that pipeline in place for about a year now.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So 4 years from now, 5 years from now, they'll be working for you?
4 years from now, 5 years from now, I hope they all come after my job.
Right. Oh, that sounds terrific. No, but what a great opportunity for them. They're getting just great internship experience, unbelievable for their resume. Tease them up with X, Y, and Z. I think that's terrific. It's just the program is just going to expand, I'm sure, in that area as well. What are some of the challenges that you face? Obviously, we know technology changing, the bad guys, so to speak, and all that aspect. That's 24/7, 365 for you. What other challenges are out there?
I think from my perspective, the biggest challenge we have right now is, as pervasive as technology is across the society, right? Managing expectations and understanding what it means to deploy a large-scale technology efforts in an enterprise like ours, which is large, which is complex, it's 24/7, it's mission-critical, so everything has to be looked at and thought of with a level of rigor, right? And understanding the impact of a change that traditionally technology wouldn't think about, right? In tradition, technology used to be means to an end. You put something out there and you're like, here, use it, right? Now that technology could have downstream effect that we may not have thought about. Right. So considering and thinking about these changes across the enterprise is the one area that, excuse me. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
that one area that we see is the constant challenge for us to ensure that we're being thoughtful and intentional about our decisions in technology.
Right. You were mentioning, though, that something that's always a challenge for folks in your area, when I worked for the San Diego Union Tribune was with us, and that is the changing of systems, right?
Yes.
So, okay, we don't have $4 billion to put in it, so we got to jerry-rig some things. But if we jerry-rig it too much, then all we're doing is going down a rabbit hole, and eventually we're going to have to redo the whole thing. I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, which is that...
You sound exactly like what you're talking about,
Right. So that's the same thing with you folks. You're trying to find, how much should we put this place in here? We don't have the resource at this point. We're going to get it to this spot. We got to be very careful that eventually is going to have to be replaced. That is like putting together a Rubik's Cube, is it not?
Absolutely. It's constant adjustments, constant understanding, and having a really close partnership with the operations, right? Knowing that having close relationships with folks like Rick Lopez or others at the leadership level,
right,
as well as rank and file, right, as well as having close partnership with the deputies or professional staff that are impacted by the decision we make is huge in our ability to make sure that we're not our decisions are factored in to say, okay, we're going to need to take a shortcut on this.
That's right.
So that we can achieve this longer term outcome.
Exactly, and not to compromise the system when you have to do a full-blown change in this aspect of it. And again, preaching to the congregation here, better than anybody how this stuff changes, and by absolutely every second for that matter on this. So, and we love talking about communication. That's what we do in our podcast business. We're a communication business and media business as well. Actually, we're an information delivery business, to be honest with you. And you folks are the same.
Yeah.
You're delivering information, all the time in this. And just like you were saying, Sheriff Martinez was saying, we just, got to work smarter and use the technology, and that's what your job is, to do this area. When somebody is being hired to work in the sheriff's department, whether it's in the patrol car, or working in your division, or working somewhere else, how much do they have to be up to date on some of the technology? They should be relatively well versed, does she not? They don't need to be experts like you, but they should have some understanding.
They should have a level of comfort and proficiency with technology, because day one they get out there, their interaction will be either computers in the car, computers at their desk, phones that get issued to them. So there is a level of comfort that they need day one.
So when you think about this, and I'm going to date myself because I'm 105 years older than you, Yosh, I'll tell you that right now. So when you watch all these, old shows like, police shows and all that business, and they had no computers in the car. Are you kidding me? And now they've obviously saved so much time doing this. Is that just a constant battle to upgrade software in the cars?
Absolutely. It is, just because, number one, it takes a bit of time to get through the process, right? Excuse me.
Yeah.
I am so sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
All taken care of in post-production.
Yes, it is a constant challenge. It's almost like painting a Golden Gate Bridge, right? We have to be cognizant as we deploy a new system and deploy a new solution, all of that has to align with the fact that we're not leaving too much legacy debt on the table. So we're not leaving too many old things, so that we want to make sure that everything kind of goes in lockstep, right? Especially with 600 plus patrol cars, thousands of devices across the enterprise, making sure that whatever new thing we deploy works on everything, right? That's that in itself is a fun effort.
Well, I don't know how you sleep at night, but you do. That is a massive job, obviously. And great thing when you talk to Sheriff Martinez about it and your colleagues, you seem to be very collegial. You all work well together. You like working with each other, which always makes it better and all that. But they're all important departments, but I can't imagine one that's not more as important as yours. If you don't have the connections, ball game is over. I don't care how good you are at X, Y, and Z. If you can't get from A to B, you can't do stuff with Astria and all that business. Yosh, we asked this question of everybody on the interview here on remote. What can our listeners do to support great work that you folks do?
Well, I think, one of the biggest things from my perspective is really, public safety is everyone's job. I mean, even though I'm not out there in black and white, I'm not, a sworn officer, being part of this organization for 22 years, starting my job. When I started here, I started with supporting our 911 dispatch communication center that Rick mentioned, right? It gave me a whole new appreciation for public safety and law enforcement, and ensuring that safety of our community is everyone's job, right? And keeping that in mind, to me, is probably the most valuable thing, right? It's all the technology, everything else is nothing if we don't have that public safety support in community in our communities.
It's so much. We talk about this quite a bit on our show that obviously we're pretty divisive when it comes to this country and 4 billion other things, whether you're rooting for the Padres or Dodgers or whatever the case.
Always Padres.
I'm a Dodger fan. That's okay. But the Padres are going to win in 4. That's my prediction. Thank you very much. You heard it here at the Sheriff's Department. The Padres will win in 4. And I predicted that 2 years ago also, that the Padres would win in 4. And I'm a Dodger fan. So I'm just going with a team I think is going to win on this. No, but in all fairness of it, I think what's so important is what you folks do. When you think about all the differences people have, one thing they have in common, they want to be safe. Yeah. They want their families to be safe. They want them to be safe. They want their kids to be safe. And that's what you folks do. Just can't thank you enough for your service and your colleagues as well. And we'd love to have you come back on anytime you'd like.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And, we're looking forward to the Dodgers-Padres showdown again.
It starts tomorrow. Absolutely. Very
Excellent.
Good. Ashish Kakkad, Technology Manager for Technology Services for the San Diego Sheriff's Department. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades. Just doing great things for people living in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.